Hey there, everyone. Mike Wyckoff here, and I wanted to give you a quick recap from last night's FEMA meeting at the city of Madeira Beach. Today is October 24th. The meeting was held last night, October 23rd. And I want to give you some of my key takeaways and summarize that 2-hour long meeting for you, and give you some other tips that I have uncovered here and dispel some myths, hopefully. So this is going to be specific to Madeira Beach in a lot of respects, but some of it is going to also apply to other municipalities around the area. So the first thing I want to tell you, you've got to look at everything through this lens and separate your flood insurance concepts in your head from FEMA compliance with your home being in a coastal high hazard area, where if you flooded, you're in an A or B zone, you're in a coastal high hazard area, and maintaining compliance with that. The cities are required, in order to stay within the FEMA flood insurance program, the NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program, to maintain a certain rating status that's graded from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. Madeira Beach was just upgraded actually from a 7 to a 6. That gives residents a bigger discount on their flood insurance premiums. Right now, that's equals a 20% premium. That being part of that FEMA flood rating program, also called the community rating system, allows the cities to be reimbursed for disaster cleanup and things like that. So all the trucks and everything, be going around picking up debris, which I know it's not happening fast enough for everyone, but those trucks are costing a lot of money. The workmen are costing a lot of money. FEMA will reimburse the city as long as we're a member of the community rating system within FEMA. So there's a couple prongs here. But the first thing I want you to understand when it comes to FEMA is that they have two prongs to FEMA. One is their disaster relief, which they're really quite good at. And that is to bring you food, water, shelter, blankets, arrange for things to be given to people who are displaced from their homes, vouchers for places to stay, things like that. They're doing a great job with that. The second part is about the community rating system and what you can and cannot do to rebuild your home or not. You need to look at it through this lens. FEMA's goal is to have no one living in a coastal high hazard area. That's their ultimate goal. We know that can't be accomplished. Obviously, they can't throw you off of Madeira Beach or North Reddington Beach or wherever you're living just because you're in a coastal high hazard area. But their goal is to make it so difficult to stay there after a disaster that you want to leave. And it's working. People are leaving, and it's terrible, and I hate it, and I see my neighbors frustrated. I've been sitting in front of people who are crying their eyes out over losing their home, and I'm living through it now with my neighbors. We have properties that have been completely destroyed. We're going to be forced to tear them down, including my office. So I'm living it right with you, going through the permitting process and all the frustration. And I empathize with you on that front. And I'm sorry for what you're going through. But people are asking, why won't they let us build our house back? Why won't they let FEMA from the community rating system, the NFIP program, is not here to help you. They are here to protect the NFIP program by removing risk from that insurance program. The way they remove risk is have fewer properties in a hazardous area. Keep that in mind. They're not here to help you. The second thing you need to know is that the Florida Department of Emergency Management, FDEM, they are the enforcement arm along with the municipalities for the FEMA regulations. So the first thing I want you to understand, the very first step in your process now, if you have a damaged home from either one of the storms, but especially from the flooding portion, is that you need to get a demolition permit. Nothing can happen with your house working towards rebuilding or building up or anything until you get that demolition permit. You can obtain that online or at City Hall. They're open from 11 to I think 3 or 3:30 every day at Madeira Beach City Hall. If you want to go in person, they will walk you through the process. They'll actually do it for you. All you need is the address, and they'll get that process started. From the time you get your online permit, oh, by the way, if you do it online, there's several forms that they are saying required. They have a red asterisk that you have to fill out. If you don't have that form, just upload a blank page or upload something that says, I don't have it, not applicable, not available, something, just anything to fill in that blank, and then you could process through. There's no charge for the demolition permit. It's automatically given to you, and that starts the process moving forward. But you have to do that first before you can do anything else. Within 7 to 10 days, you can expect an inspection from a city staff member, someone from the building department. It will not be FEMA doing the inspections. It's the city staff doing it under the guideline of FEMA. There are more people coming. The inspections have been going well, but they don't have enough people to get this done quickly. They're doing the best they can, but there are more inspectors coming. They've been trained by the county and the state, and they're bringing in more people. So hopefully that process speeds up. But right now you're looking at 7 to 10 days from when you get your permit. They will contact you by email, let you know when they're going to do your inspection. You don't have to be there. You can put a note in your permit request to say, I'm not there, back door's open, or there's a key under the mat, or whatever the situation is to let them in. You don't have to be there. So, and you need to do this even if your demolition has already been completed. You still need to get a permit to get the process started of moving forward with rebuilding your home or whatever it is that's going to happen. So after you get the permit, they'll do that in-person inspection, and that you will not be able to get the repair permit to build it back until it's verified that you've gotten the demolition permit and had that inspection. So the purpose of that inspection is to determine if you've had substantial damage. Substantial damage is what puts you in jeopardy of violating that FEMA 50% rule. So I've been running into lots of questions. I'm going to hit that 50% rule in a minute, but I just want to make sure that you understand the process you need to get it started. Go online. There's a link at the city website to get that permit filed. I'm going to put it in my post here that goes along with this video. You'll see a link to that permit sign up. You have to sign up for an account. It's free, and then go through their process. So the next thing we want to talk about is that 50% rule. I still have people saying, well, my house was worth, $1.2 million, so I should get $600,000 to work with to repair my house. That is not the case. The $1.2 million is likely your overall property value. And I spoke with someone today. That was the case. Their market value of their entire property was $1.2 million, but we looked up their structural value, and they only had $43,000 to work with before they tripped that FEMA limit of 50% of the value of the structure. It was a very old house on a great piece of property, and the house was depreciated enough that it wasn't worth very much. So that homeowner only has $43,000 to work with in that FEMA rule before they flip the switch and then have to become fully FEMA compliant, which means either remove all living area from the ground floor, and in Madeira Beach, you have to be 14 feet above base flood elevation. Now, base flood elevation is basically mean high tide, and we get into some semantics there, but essentially, you're going to have to be at least 10 feet off the ground. Most of Madeira Beach, wherever you're standing, is at least 4 feet, so you would have to be 10 feet above that to start your living area. So a couple things to know, though, about that FEMA value that's assigned to you. First of all, if you don't know where to find it, go to PCPAO, Pinellas County Property Appraiser's Office, PCPAO.com. You put in your address for the search. When your address pops up, it'll show you your record at the tax property appraiser's office. Over on the right-hand side is a little toolbox that pops out. You hit on FEMA letter, and a PDF will pop up, and it'll explain to you what your land value is, what your structure value is, and how much you can use under the 50% rule of FEMA. It's very clear. Now, I will tell you that number is generally quite low compared to what the real value of your structure is, but it'll give you a ballpark idea. So the cost to rebuild your house or repair your house has to fall under that number. If you feel like that number is too low, which it probably is, the best way to know for sure what your number is to hire a private appraiser. This must be someone who is licensed in the state of Florida as an appraiser. A real estate broker like me cannot do that for you. It has to be done by an appraiser. And you have to get what's called an ACV appraisal, actual cash value. It's specifically for compliance with the FEMA 50% rule. So if you talk to an appraiser and they don't know what you're asking for exactly, if they say, what's that ACV? You got the wrong appraiser. You need to go somebody who knows, because it's got to be in a certain format for it to be accepted. So FEMA and your municipality will accept the appraised value based on what your appraiser says it is, and it's likely going to be higher. So if you've recently remodeled your house with granite or quartz countertops and travertine flooring and high-end cabinets and fixtures like that, and you have pictures to prove it, you're going to be able to get a higher value and give you more room within which to work under that 50% limit, okay? So, and remember, the appraisal is going to be based on the pre-storm condition. It's not the way it sits today, all banged up. It's going to be pre-storm condition. So If you need recommendations for private appraisers, I can provide you with those as well, or talk to your trusted advisor, somebody who knows appraisers, and get that done for you. So there were some questions at the meeting about grants. Does FEMA have grants for people to take their existing home and lift it up, or to tear down their house and build new ones? The short answer is yes, they do. The more qualified answer is they do, but they're very difficult to get. It has to be applied for through the city. The city has to do it for you. And FEMA is pretty stingy with that money. So, and there's a lot of strings attached. For example, you can only build a house of a certain size. It's relative to the size of your existing home. So if you have a 1,200 square foot house now, they're not going to give you money to build a 3,000 square foot house. It's going to have to be something within like 110 or 120% of the size of your existing structure. The second qualification is you have to agree to keep flood insurance on that house in perpetuity. And in perpetuity means forever. And that's even past your ownership. So any subsequent owner that buys your house will have to agree to keep flood insurance on that house, whether they want it or not. It's going to be one of the qualifications. The process takes 9 months to a year to get approved for the grant. And then you've got to apply for permits and all that sort of thing. So you're talking about a very long process, and it may not be worth doing it. So you're just going to, you can try for the grants. It's just, they're kind of a long shot if you ask me. If you do have flood insurance, however, on your property, and you decide to tear your house down and rebuild, you can ask your insurance agent about something called ICC, which is the increased cost of compliance. Some people refer to this as an ordinance of law coverage in your policy. There is generally up to about $30,000 in coverage for this. That will be basically a payout from your insurance company to contribute towards rebuilding a new house or lifting your existing house or whatever you need to do to become FEMA compliant. Okay, so that's something to ask your insurance agent about if you have that coverage. So most people are not wanting to think about tearing their house down or becoming fully FEMA compliant, by elevating their house. So what if you want to try and repair your existing home? The first thing you need to do is get that FEMA number. Keep in mind, if you're going to elevate your home, the 50% thing means nothing. You can build whatever you want if you're doing it yourself, having it torn down and rebuilt, and not using a grant. You can do whatever you want. So don't worry about that 50% number. I mean, you can spend however much you can afford to spend or get financed. So, but if you want to rebuild your existing home and its existing footprint, just put back everything like you had it, you have to get your FEMA number, that 50% from the PCPAO.com. And if that number looks like it's going to be too low to work with, I want to encourage you to get an appraisal. Get an appraisal now, so that when you have your inspection, you can whip that thing out for the inspectors and argue that you have the right to rebuild. If your home was recently remodeled, as I said, you'll probably get a higher value, and make sure you get an ACV, actual cash value appraisal. So how is the cost of the repairs determined to comply with the 50% rule? So, what if I'm doing my own work on my own house and I've gotten materials donated? There's still a value to all of that. So this is one that's causing the biggest frustration for a lot of people. The city is going to use a cost estimating tool that considers the fair market value of the labor and materials that are going back into your house. They will accept a proposal from a licensed contractor with an itemized bid showing market value costs for labor and materials, so that may be a little bit better than their estimating software, because they're just using software and checking boxes for things that go into houses. So you may be able to get a licensed contractor to give you a better bid, but it's got to be legit, and it's got to be from a licensed contractor that is verifiably licensed and insured and in the state of Florida. And I want to encourage you, as you're doing things out here, make sure anybody that's doing work on your property is licensed. Today alone, just going from the north end of Madeira Beach at City Hall to my home on the south end of Madeira Beach, I watched 3 people getting arrested in one trip. There were 3 people getting arrested, and they were all workers that were working without a license and with no permits. They weren't the homeowners, they were the workers. So check on your people. How do you check on them? Go to PCCLB.com, Pinellas County Construction Licensing Board, PCCLB. And you can look up their name and you'll get their license number, and you'll see if there's any complaints filed against them. If you can't find them on there, they don't have a license. Don't use them. Okay. So we talked about, can you do the work yourself to save money? In the long run, you could save money for sure and not spend that money. but you can't use that savings calculating in your 50% allowance for rebuilding. So any work you do will still have a value, and it counts towards the 50%. Madeira Beach is also counting your demolition work or your tear out work and your cleanup in that 50%. Even if you did it yourself, they're going to assign a dollar value to that, generally based on the square footage of your house. I don't know what that number is exactly. I just want you to know that that's counted in there. Will there be a huge, another question was, will there be a huge tax increase for my home if I build a new one? The Pinellas County property appraiser is going to put out an official statement about this in the next day or two. But he has stated that if you build a house of the same square footage, you're doing 1,500 square feet that's on the ground. Now you're doing 1,500 square feet up in the air. There's not going to be a big differential in your property taxes. If you go from a 1,500 square foot house to a 4,000 square foot house, it's a lot more valuable house, and our taxes are based on the value. So yes, it's going to go up, but you should see a very small increase technically from going on the ground to going up. Okay. So don't let that be the reason you don't build your house over the property taxes. So if you want to try to estimate costs for yourself to get an idea of what it's going to cost to rebuild your house, there is a website. It's called HomeWise, HOMEWYSE.com. I'll provide a link for that as well. It goes through every component in your house, and you put in how much of that component you need, how many square feet of drywall, how many square feet of flooring, how many linear feet of baseboards, how many doors, cabinets, all that stuff. It's not easy. I promise you, it's not easy, but it can give you an idea of what you're working with. So we asked the city if there's a number that they're using per square foot to estimate when they do their inspections as to whether they think you can rebuild your house the way it stands. I got no straight answer. There was a number thrown out there that was absolutely ridiculous of $205 a square foot. Please don't freak out. Things will be coming off that $205 per foot as they inspect your house. For example, if your roof is good, they will take that part of that out. If your plumbing is good and your electrical is good, they'll take that out. If, there's all different things that they'll be taking out. So don't let that freak you out. You've got to get the demo permit, then you need to get the inspection, and then you can figure out what you're going to do. So what happens if you do work without a permit? I've had people say, I don't care about permits. I'm getting my work done. I need my family back in my house. We can't live like this. And they start work. There's a potential for some very serious repercussions for that. The city has made it, they even made the statement that they could make you tear everything out. Everything that you put in will have to come out, and you've wasted all that money. The worst case scenario, FEMA steps in and says the house has to come down because you violated the rules. So I just want to encourage you, please try and play within the system. I'm going to try and help you along the way with updates on how you can come up with a better number possibly, or find ways to get more support. So please don't go rogue and do all the work and hope for the best, because it may not be very good. So the question was, how long is it from the demo inspection until the next step? Right now, as I said, it'll be 7 to 10 days. This means they've done their on-site inspection and determined whether they feel you are above or below the 50%. So you file for the demo report. A week or so later, you'll have the inspection. The next step, then you file, if it's determined that you probably or you can rebuild your house in its current footprint, then you have to apply for a permit with builder's plans and your cost estimates. That'll take about a week to 10 days for them to review those documents and give you the okay and a permit to start work. So we're at least a couple weeks from being able to do anything in the best case scenario. Okay. So how much are permits going to cost? The demo permit, good news, is free. You go online, fill out the application, and your demo permit will be free. The permits to do build back work or to build a new home, the cost of their permit is approximately 2% of the total project cost. So you can do the math on that. I can tell you, I have high praise for our city officials and our city staff. These guys are working their tails off to try and get people moved forward and back in their homes as quickly as possible. The city wants you to be back in your home. FEMA doesn't. And they're trying to work within FEMA guidelines to do the best they can to get as many people back in their homes as quickly as possible. So please show some grace and some temperance with the city staff. They're working day and night, 7 days a week. They're there on Saturday and Sunday. When they're not there on site, they're out doing inspections. They're taking care of business. Our sheriff's department is out there looking for people that are working without licenses and saving our people money because people are getting ripped off. They're out there stopping looters because it's still happening. So please thank our city staff and our city officials and our deputies. They're doing a great job under the circumstances. More help is coming. That's the good news. I want to encourage you to contact your local politicians and our state representatives, all the way up to the governor, and register your complaints with them because things aren't going as well as they should. It appears that the county and the state is not quite as well prepared as they should have been. So please speak your mind, get in touch with your representatives, find out who they are, and talk to them and let them know how you really feel. I'm going to put in some links to how to contact the building department, the planning department, to get your questions answered as well. So there were lots of other questions. Can't really think of any of them right now. It's pretty full. The video is getting a little long, so I apologize for that. But if you want to reach out to me, I'll have my contact information out there. Happy to try and answer any questions, and I will provide some updates as we go along. So really appreciate your time, and good luck to everyone. And I really hope that as many people as possible can get back into their homes as quickly as they can. Thanks again.